guys, this is Ace back again with another review, and this time it's going to be my first perfect grade actually. I don't think I've done a review of any perfect grades before. No. Yeah, my first perfect grade review, which is Evangelion, and this is Unit 01. Now, as far as I know, a couple of people have told me that this guy was basically the first ever perfect grade ever done by Bandai. So this guy predates even the Granddaddy RX-78-2. And it's clearly evident, honestly speaking, it's clearly evident in the construction, in the way they've put things together, and the way they've offered this kit. It's definitely a perfect grade. In the end, when it comes out, everything that they offer you, the way that you've built it, the size, the quality, everything is a perfect grade. But there are a lot of drawbacks, and I honestly speaking, I don't know how they went from this guy to the RX-78-2. There is such a huge difference. Okay, granted, there's a difference in the actual kit itself, the character, all these sort of things, but just the finishing on this guy is so much more, or actually is so much less as compared to the RX-78. It's not even funny. So right off the bat, guys, if you get this as a very good price, get it. But if you feel that it's expensive, don't get it. I'd rather you go for one of the other normal Gundam perfect grades as compared to this guy, because I know this guy can go for quite a lot. Okay, now having said that, this guy's not all that bad. When you look at it, the way it is, the way it's done, the finishing, the number of parts you got, the way it got done, constructed, everything, it's very cool. And on top of that, it's EVA. How many bloody perfect grade kits of EVA are there? Zero, apart from this one. So this one is definitely, it's a collector's item in my opinion. I mean, if you have it in your collection, if you get it a very good deal, a good sale or something, then definitely go for it. And you can paint it, put the decals and the stickers on, and make this guy look good. Okay, so for the inner skeleton, as you can see, there's not that much there. I mean, this is, like one of my friends just told me, a 1995 perfect grade, and I believe, if everything is true, that this guy was the first perfect grade that Bandai has ever created. And you can tell with this one, I mean, if you look at the inner skeleton, this is pretty much what you get. And I wanted to show this off before I put it into the plastic suit, because I have a feeling that once this inner skeleton goes into the plastic suit pieces, getting it out is going to be pretty difficult. So I wanted to show you guys what this would look like without anything going on, so we knew what the hell was going on. And I mean, it's okay. The engineering is pretty cool. It's pretty simplistic, especially for the legs. Very easy to put that together. The most complicated aspect of the build so far has been the wiring aspect for the actual chest area and the light up features over here, which are going to be in the shoulders. Now, I thought there were going to be some light up features on the face aspect as well, especially for the eyes, because if you look at the face aspect over here on the inside, this is a clear piece. So when I was going through the parts, I thought that this was also going to be a light up feature, but unfortunately not. Also, it looks like the red thing that we have for the chest area is also not going to be lit up. So it's pretty much looks like at the moment that only the shoulders are going to be lit up. That's it for the inner skeleton. Unfortunately, there isn't that much there. You've got a very simplistic build for the inner skeleton itself when it comes to the arms and the legs. There's not much there apart from just a few pieces in the connecting aspects. Everything else is straightforward. Absolutely nothing to do there whatsoever. The articulation on the inner skeleton actually is pretty good. So I mean, if you look at the leg itself, you get a complete 180, which is absolutely fantastic, and what you would expect. And again, over here you get 360 for the shoulders. The only point that I don't like is the connection. So the connection, for example, over here with the shoulder piece over here, and this PVC or polycap that goes in there is extremely tight. So if you can hear that, oh, this is very tight to go around, and I have a feeling, make sure you hold this over here, because otherwise I have a feeling parts are going to start to break out. Otherwise, everything is really nice. I love how they've done the actual spine aspect here as well. You get a lot of movement. So you've got one polycap there, two polycap, and three polycaps. So this allows you to really go back and forth, do a lot of bends, and you can actually go 360 as well. So that's very nice. So the skeleton aspect of it is very cool. This is a little bit loose. In fact, the head pieces that you get are a little bit loose anyway. Hey. So, but apart from that, everything is very cool. And I love how you can actually open the mouth out. So that's it for the inner skeleton. Let's get back to the building and put all the armor pieces on. So basically, having said that, let me reiterate as well. This is pretty cool. It is an EVA, so it is unlike any other Perfect Grade that we've ever gotten afterwards. So this is one of a kind. And if you guys can get it in, somehow a cheap price or a sale somewhere, then definitely go for it. It's definitely great to have an EVA of this size in your collection. Also, I don't want to give too negative a point. This guy does have its good points as well, and we can go through it. Now, good points right off the bat. This guy looks beautiful. In the end, it looks really, really nice. There are a lot of sore points. So, for example, if you look at the chest area itself, you have 6 pieces there that connect over here, and they kind of plug into the chest area here. So you do have a lot of sore points. You are going to have a bit of a nightmare trying to get rid of the seam lines and getting these things to fit in properly. Number one. Number two, the PVC suit. So you have the arm pieces there, you've got the leg piece over here, and the whole torso area. Now the thing is that this PVC suit or plastic suit, whatever it is, does make the kit look really nice. I mean, if you look at it, imagine having all these pieces over here be in some kind of black plastic or something. It's not going to look as good. Kind of like the high grades, for example. The high grades just have this one big piece or 3-4 pieces, but they're all one color, so you have to go in and do the black things yourselves. This suit itself makes it look really good. The problem with this suit is that because it's like this, and when you bend it around, it moves. The best way to show it, for example, is in the arm over here. So if you have this arm here and you bend it, you can see the fold coming up over there, if the camera picks it up. And because of the fold, it pushes things and pushes parts out of the way. So even if you have these two pieces perfectly in line, just the fact that you've actually bent the elbow pushes up against the parts and kind of moves them out of the way. So unless you really super glue them together or do something like that, you are going to have issues, which is, again, in my opinion, it's a bad point. You shouldn't have to do things like that. What else? Okay, the fit itself, there are some parts which are not that good. So, for example, these two pieces here I showed you, these pieces here, these pieces over here, the back part over here. See, this part is already coming out. So, just because of the PVC suit, the pieces just don't fit as nicely as you would like to. You will have to go back in and either super glue them or just kind of keep fixing it. Or just don't play with it. Once this guy's painted and done, just put him on the side, don't touch him again, and it'll be perfectly fine as well. So now, in terms of articulation, this guy is supposed to have excellent articulation. He's a perfect grade, right? Wrong. And that's mainly because of the PVC suit. And because of the PVC suit, you get a little bit scared. Now, these arm pieces plug into the whole chest area, so you do still get the complete 360 degrees over here. The only thing is, you have to be a little bit careful so that the pieces don't start falling out. Otherwise, yes, you've got perfect articulation in the arms. These elbows, as I showed before, do bend, but you have to be careful. You see this part splitting up already. Otherwise, you've got about a 90 degrees bend. And again, it's simply because of the PVC suit. The hands are on a ball joint, so they do wiggle and they go all the way around. You got nothing to worry about there. The waist itself, you do have 3 sections on the inner skeleton itself. So there's one part over here for the waist, one part for the middle section, then the torso area itself plugs into the third part over there. So you do get a good range of motion. But as you can see, you do have a lot of parts that keep falling out. So this guy does go forward a lot, he goes back a lot, he wiggles side to side, so he's got a lot of good articulation there. But now, as you can see, because of the PVC suit, you've got these pegs that go into the little holes on there, and they plug into the actual inner skeleton. But because you move things around, the PVC suit moves, and pieces fall off. And the thing is, you can't even glue them in there, because the trouble is that if you started gluing things around in there, you're going to, number one, ruin the suit. The other thing you could do is make the holes bigger, but then the problem is that the piece is not going to be fitting in. It's not going to cover up the hole that you just made into the suit, and won't look good. So even though this thing does have a fair amount of articulation, I would actually suggest, once he's done, don't move him, because you're just going to end up making things fall all over the place, and that's just not the right thing to do. Let me fix this. The legs also are pretty good. They do move forward and back a fair bit, but again, just because of the PV suit, I wouldn't be moving this around much at all. There you go. The legs do bend out quite nicely, so you still get the 180 degrees bend on the leg, and the feet itself does move around a little bit. So you get a good degree of motion. It's very actually, I think what they're trying to do, and I think they did a very good job on this as well, is that they were trying to make this very humanoid. So as compared with the Gundams, which are very mecha, this guy was going to be a lot more humanoid. The other part of the articulation is also the head. So this guy does have a little bit of a movement. He doesn't have too much, so he does go up and down a little bit, and he does turn from side to side. But that's probably it. You don't get a complete 360. And finally, his head or his mouth actually does open up a little bit to show you his teeth. You are going to have to paint it to get all the details out. Otherwise, his head does move around. Now, the only other thing I would like to mention about this kit is just the plastic itself. I felt that there are some pieces, not all of them by the way, there are some pieces like the ones on the waist, the ones on the ankles over here, and there were a couple on the inner skeleton that I thought were brittle. So they weren't as sturdy or as strong as I thought. And just to give you a prime example, here's a piece. Now this basically goes onto his arm side over here. There are two small pegs, one over here, and you just kind of plug it in. This one, believe it or not, I put it in, everything was perfectly fine, perfectly normal, and while I was bringing him out here, I literally touched it with my finger. Okay, it was a little bit harder than a touch, but I just did this almost, and it just popped off. So, you're gonna have to fix it, probably put some super glue and all that sort of stuff in there after you paint it, but this thing has popped off, and I think ordering this is going to be a big issue when you get in there. Alright, let's check out what kind of accessories this guy comes with. Okay, so for accessories, again, this guy is a perfect grade, so you are going to be getting a lot. The first thing I wanted to show you is the head. So you get the normal head when you get it over here, and you also get a second head, which is more like the inner skeleton. Now, it doesn't show up because it's all kind of like one color, but you can see there's a little bit of detail, and this is basically the second head you get with this guy. You also get this piece. Now this piece is 100%. I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% sure of where in the anime this thing part came in, but this is basically instead of the red piece on the chest. So if you don't want this, I don't know why you wouldn't want this, you can actually just replace that with this black piece over here. So this is again just to give you a different look of the Eva depending on which part of the anime you want it to look like. You also get this dagger. Now this is again one piece, so you haven't built anything here, they just give you this thing. And you are going to be able to get this thing in addition to the shoulder. If you open it up, it does come out, and you can see this part over here. So this is kind of like the anime, and then you can pull out the actual dagger over here. So this is pretty cool. I like this. The only problem is because of the whole PVC suit issue, and if you bring it up, all the issues with articulation, he doesn't actually reach up and grab it. So that's a bit of an issue. I mean, you can get it part way, so it looks like he's about to go and grab it, but not all the way there. So you get that thing there. You do get a lot of hands. Now, they're not the best hands. So for example, these are just the open hands. You get one for the left and you get one for the right. In addition to the open hand, you also get two of these, which are basically the closed fists. Punching. Now, here's my problem. You get a lot of hands, right? But these two, the open hand and the closed fist, are the only ones that are fully made. Everything else come in two pieces. So for example, you get this. So you get these two things, and there's no grooves, there's no locking mechanism. This is something you're going to have to glue on or use a putty thing or something like that to make it look good. And, all the other hands you get are like that. So this one is going to be like for either the sword or, yeah, this is going to be pretty much for the sword or the dagger. So you get that. You also get these two, which I believe are going to be for the smaller dagger. Or I think the smaller sword as well. I haven't tried it because it doesn't fit yet. I still have to fix it all up. But you get these two. You also get this one, which is for the gun hand. Just like that. So you got the trigger finger. And finally, you've got this one, which is, again, I believe for the sword. So you've got a fair number of hands. I mean, look at it. You've got a fair number of hands. But the problem is, there is no articulation in the hands. So for example, these two, the closed fists, you can't even see the fists or the open area over there. They're just big chunks of plastic. And you can't really do anything much with it. And everything else you have to build. So, you know, I'm happy they gave you a lot of hands, but I'm a little upset they haven't given you enough articulation in them, so you can't really do much with it. You also get a nice little gun, but it's very, very simplistic. This is literally two pieces, and you just plug them together. That's it. So you've got that, and then you come to the nicer parts. You get this. This is one of the smaller guns, which connects to a sword. So this is pretty cool. And with it, you also get a little sheath. I think that's the best word for it. And you can just put them in there. And it goes in pretty nicely. Now, these were two pieces you plug together, and this whole thing is one big piece. This is one of the reasons why I didn't do a build for the weapons, because there was nothing to build. And this is a sheet, because you actually get a larger sword, which looks really, really cool. This is probably the one I'm going to display him with once he's done. So if you look at it, this thing actually opens up and comes out like this too. So it's very nicely done. It's very cool, and it fits into the sheet perfectly, and it looks really nice. But you are going to have to paint it to get it to look phenomenal. Finally, in terms of, let me move the camera, in terms of accessories, you do get this, which is the power cord, the power cable, the power supply, whatever you want to call it. Now, this is something you do build. This is where part of the electronics come in. The most complicated aspect is, of course, over here when you work on the batteries part, and then you've got the switch. On the top is off, and when you put it down, it turns on. And the way this works, and I normally keep this out, I'm going to plug it in once everything is done, is that in the back over here, you've got the plug. So you can actually put this in here. Let me turn it on. And then when you connect it to the back, the shoulders light up. There you go. Can you see that? So that is a very nice feature. But again, this was a slightly disappointing point in that the shoulders were the only light up features. So if you are going to want to have, for example, the chest piece, this red piece to light up, or his eyes to light up, you are going to have to do your own electronics work and your own modifications to get it to do anything of that sort. Okay, so just to quickly wrap up on a few things, the Perfect Grade Evangelion Kit is pretty cool. It looks very, very nice, but you are going to have to do a lot of work to get it to look proper and better. Just right out of the box, it is a little bit plain, although it does have all the colors that you need. You are going to have to do a lot of detail work to make it look really, really good. The good thing about it is that it does look a lot like the anime. It is a great, great piece, and it's a very unique piece. It's one of a kind in the Perfect Grade world. The bad point is that because of the PVC suit, which is one of the things that makes it look really good, you get a lot of issues. You get parts popping off, you get parts that don't fit in as well, and you are going to have to do a lot of work to get the PVC suit and the pieces working together. The biggest problem that I had was right over here when it came to the waist part. The legs had basically two things sticking out like this, and the waist piece had a hole in the middle. And what you do is you line it up, and then you put a screw in, which screws in all three pieces. Now, because you had a PVC suit which ends kind of over here, you had to put the legs in on either side and just blindly get it to work in the middle, which is a nightmare. That just gives you one idea. So the build itself, there were parts of it which were very difficult. I mean, and it was just, unnecessary difficult, not just complicated, just difficult. Otherwise, everything else was very, very easy to do, especially the electronics. Electronics I thought were going to be a lot more difficult, but they turned out to be pretty cool. So you do get a lot of accessories in terms of the weapons and hands, but the biggest problem for me is the hands. Now, anytime you're going to have the hands in different pieces and you have to glue them together and you don't have articulation, I'm sorry, but that's not perfect grade quality. But then again, this was the first perfect grade that we had for Bandai, so I do let it off. And if you can spend some time making this guy look a little bit better, put a little bit of color in there, put a little bit of lining in there, this guy is going to look really cool. Alright guys, this is Ace. I hope I was able to give you a little bit of an insight into the Perfect Grade Evangelion, give you an idea on what this kit can provide you if you do choose to buy it. In my opinion, final word, it's a great kit to have if you can get it on sale. Don't pay full price for it. Alright guys, see you later.